But you get an agenda, there's a bunch of them up here. I think I'm gonna have to lower this.
Think straight down, lets it go down.
There you go.
Some mood lighting now.
That's it.
You know, we need to turn on that light. I think it goes on too. There you go. Right.
Oh, it's not be so hasty there.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I know.
All right.
Takes more than that.
Well, good afternoon. Today is October 3rd, 2023. The time is now 1:01 p.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will call this meeting of the board to order. If you do have cell phones, if you could silence them at this time, please. Matt, if you could lead us in the pledge, please.
Thought about designated Mr. Gilbert. Yeah. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could join me for the invocation, please. Heavenly Father, we do come before you here this afternoon, and we thank you that we were able to come together and to take care of the business of the county here. We do ask that as we meet, that you would be with us. We ask, Lord, that you would guide this meeting, that you would give us wisdom, and that you would direct us, that you would work your will. Father, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Kelly, could we get a roll call?
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda,
Here,
Commissioner F,
present.
County Attorney Dan Slater,
Here.
and Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you. And audience introductions, we'll go ahead and start in the front row.
Joni Wilcox,
Stephen Wilcox. Bill Parker. Matt Miles.
James Gilbert.
Len Arrigo.
Nadine Peterson.
All right, thank you. And if anyone goes to speak later, if you could identify yourself for the record, I would appreciate it. And do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Not from me. No, sir.
None here. No minutes today. Commissioner items, Commissioner Kanda.
I got a couple here real quick. TV tower saga, or the TV channel saga continues. Turns out there is no contract written. It was an informal one, not informal, but a verbal one. And the county's maintained it since 19X back in the day. And so their upper management has no interest in buying the frequency. We own the frequency. We own the rights to it, the BOCC. And it will expire in a year if we don't do anything. And then somebody else is free to pick it up, or we could get somebody else to pick it up. Meantime, because we own it, I asked, there's a couple options. They're looking for some equipment to give to us to get by. They have offered up their chief engineers, and I'm going to meet both of them now, and we're going to come up with what we might be able to do with the existing hardware, given the full court press and the blessing by their management. And we have the option of buying the equipment. And it turns out a translator cost, they gave us only an estimate. If we wanted to buy a new one, about $40,000 on the top side. And that's their rough estimate. So we got some options to consider to decide how we're going to treat that. And they would be accountable for maintaining the use of that frequency to us. I mean, they'll continue to broadcast and help support us, but they had no intention of owning the hardware. So that's an argument that I'm in with them. So we'll see that was both my conversations with the general managers of both outfits. So
Would that be, if I may, would that be 40,000 per translator?
no, it's
That's 40,000 for two.
for doing it. You know,
Okay,
that's right now. That's rough. So we'll have to see. There's two companies they recommended that they're global wide suppliers of this kind of equipment. So
and would that be the same system, or would that be the
no, it'd be
upgrade like they're going?
new upgraded stuff. You got to go with the digital world now. So they gave me two names, Rody and Schwartz and Gates Air repair guys, etc. And I've got, I'm going to keep following up on that. And I did call Rody and both of them. They both got back to me and said they're going to refer me to the right guy to get a cost estimate. So we'll see how it goes. Got to do it sooner than later. Also, Kelly brought to my attention and yours that we have an IGA or a grant that we need to for the Board of Health to what was the I don't have
It's an MOU.
it's an MOU is what it is, not a grant, with the Public Health Agency and the school, I believe it is. And so for some reason that fell through the crack back in August, I think, and that's when we had a big turnover of board of our BOCC admin, and a lot of stuff was going on apparently. Anyway, we can do that. I can sign it as the public health commissioner if and it might be if we want to, we could adjourn this meeting after we do convene a board of health to vote on that or not, or have me do it now and then in our next board of health meeting ratify it. So something to think about if you want to between now and the end of the meeting.
I believe that's an annual
It's
agreement with the school district.
and if
because
we
they're
don't
the
do
ones
it,
that,
then the who doesn't get paid is
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah, he doesn't get paid by the grants if we do it, right?
That's right. His whole livelihood is on that, so we need to sign it as soon as possible. And so I would recommend that that we could do I mean, this is a simple thing we can do by agreement. I'll sign it and then ratify it at the next meeting.
I'd be okay with that.
I
I think that would be better than just claiming a board of health meeting.
And I do too. I've signed them in the past. We've always done that.
Yeah.
Because
Given the
I was
nature of
given
it,
that,
if it
I was
was-
given that with the commissioner that had that duty anyway. So I think that's the right thing to do. Do you agree?
I agree.
I think so. So if we could make sure we had that on the ratification
Right.
on our next.
We'll do that.
I think that would work good.
Do we need a motion on that?
No, we just agreed. Figured we're gonna put it on there. We can do it if you want.
It's actually BOH.
It's a board of health.
Oh, yeah, we really
BOH
can't take
item,
any
so-
items.
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
I think.
oh, makes sense.
Okay, then the other thing that's of interest to everybody, partisan, nonpartisan, independent, doesn't matter, is your taxes. And we still got Proposition HH looming, and I did talk to Mark Baisley. You remember back in May or June timeframe, we had a meeting with all the taxing districts. And Baisley's proposition or 108, was the Senate bill that passed, gave the commissioners of each county the ability to lower their mill levies and all the taxing districts to lower the mill levies in order to offset the increase of what the inflation has done to us. And then it also gives you the ability to raise them again without impact, without going to the voters, and it doesn't impact anything. It allows us to stay within the 5.5%, whatever it is right now, and try to balance it out until the inflation or the cost of new homes goes down. All the counties are in the same boat. I talked with Fremont County assessor yesterday, Stacy Seifert, and they've got it all set. Their commissioners are doing the same thing we are. We're waiting to see what passes. If it doesn't pass, then we can adjust the mill levies a little less. If it does pass, then we have another issue to work because it'll cost more. And so we'll see what the mill levy values will be. Once that's decided, then what the commissioners are going to do is ask the finance directors of each of the counties to calculate based upon the assessments by the assessors of each county what the amount will be percentage wise, and that'll allow us a number of mills that will figure out on what we would recommend reducing. Each taxing district has that ability. I know a lot of them don't want to do it because they're broke already and they need the money, like Silver Cliff has already voiced that opinion, so has Westcliff, I think. That's fine. This is strictly a county thing now that we would be dealing with for our all the citizens of the county. So I'll let you know, we're gonna have a workshop, not a workshop, but a meeting, and I'm gonna have Baisley and possibly JD as well to be there, and all of us together to discuss what's been going on, what the impacts are, exactly how that works, how his bill is figured, how the process would be. We have to meet every year thereafter to keep deciding what we're going to do with the mill levy. And all that'll be explained. So and it can be on a day at Baisley's at the convenience. He'll be here anytime we ask him. So I'll check calendars. The closer we get, he can make it a 10 o'clock meeting or a 2 o'clock meeting would be the comfortable times. And once we get that nailed down, I'll send a notice out so that we can call the meeting, and I'll get all 11 districts to attend. Okay. And let's see what else. I guess we added, we're going to have a workshop to discuss all our things that we want to go advertise. PIO, the BOCC had, and then the maintenance contract is something else we need to discuss. Custodial and how we want to roll that together, and not making necessarily a decision in that, but we got to have a game plan to go forward on the cleaning attributes that what our maintenance guys doing today, as well as our ops guys and Matthew Carver's center. So I just wanted to say that would be something that we ought to add to that discussion.
Kelly, would you please add custodial to the meeting, please?
There we go. And this workshop. And then at some point we'll have a discussion. I guess later I can bring that up. Nothing right now. I think that's all for now. I may think of something else.
Last call.
Not right now.
Okay. Commissioner.
So it was in the budget for recycling to get a Can-Am Defender. And they'd like to have checked pretty quick so that they can get this up and delivered to us, or us picked up. So it is an out of cycle check. It's for $23,453.58. How do you guys, do we want to start making motions on these until we make sure, or what do you guys want to do for? Because we've been hammered on out of cycle checks lately, and especially big amounts. So do we want to vote on these? Or what do you want?
Say it again, then.
So Fremont Motorsports,
Right.
right? A check needs to be cut for this. That's out of sight.
Mhm.
So for $24,000 roughly. Do you want to vote on
We have
this?
to vote on that.
Okay,
Well, technically, we wouldn't have to. It would normally just come into her, but we have had a lot of out of cycle is why he's asking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it came up, that you'd have to do it, but this is a normal piece of business that they've already got in work.
yeah, it's part of the budget. I mean, it was
I know it was.
in the whole thing,
So
so.
part of their
it's gonna
budget,
be
we
out of
don't
it,
have to,
but it is out of cycle. It would be an out of cycle.
I don't have a problem.
I think. to this conversation, I think we need to reach back out to all the departments and try to, because they could have started the process a couple of weeks ago or something like that, to where it wouldn't have been, it could have made the.
Would have been in cycle.
It would have
Right.
been in cycle.
And they ought to do their best to try to make it.
So I think maybe we should reach back out to the different department heads and because we had gotten pretty good compliance for a little while. Since you stepped in the room, I'm looking at you, Lisa.
So
Kevin.
that's for landfill. He has the money in his
That's why I said,
capital outlay account. He was planning on having it in cycle, but I was gone and then sick and he
Yeah.
forgot
Okay.
to ask for a new vendor. And I wasn't able to get it in there. So
yeah, and I
that's
don't have a
why
bit
it's
of problem. It's in his budget. that
Mhm.
We're not micromanaging him.
Right,
Yeah, he
no,
has the money.
No.
I think he has about 60,000 in that account.
Okay, and I think you wanted to talk, Brian.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, Lisa covered it. Yeah, she was gone and there was no vendor in there, so I couldn't submit it. So
yeah, he could, yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
And that's fair enough too, and you know, valid reason, I mean, you're always gonna have a certain amount of out of cycle, so. But I think we have gotten a few more instances in the last couple of months to where they've grown again a little bit, so. We might be able to send out a reminder that they need to make sure that they get them in time
Best
for
they
the
can.
normal cycle. Barring unforeseen circumstances. So, so I don't really think that requires a vote on that. I think we just need to reach back out and maybe, you know, this is a special circumstance, but some of them are starting to do that again. And there are certain ones, the Visa payment and a couple of others that we cannot get in a normal cycle, so they're always going to be out of cycle.
Cool. That's all I get, buddy.
I did, that reminded me of a thing that I do need to, if I can. But
Go ahead,
unless you
sir.
want to talk before I get the last word. I meant to bring this up. We've had this request before. When we have things to consider, like an MOU or whatever, there was a request that if the public, you know, they don't know what we're discussing, they don't have a copy of it. It wouldn't be a bad idea in my mind to post those kinds of things if it's a statute or whatever, when we post the agendas. That's just a suggestion. We can talk about it later, think about it, but I think that's a good idea in the effort of transparency, openness, and then people can decide whether it's worth coming to a meeting or not.
So the IGAs would be the same.
IGA would be the same thing. It's a good
No,
thing
it
to have.
probably is a good thing to do.
So I think it's a great thing personally, and I know that the other counties, some of them do, I don't know if all of them do. And they for sure make it available in the room. People, I've gone into other meetings and picked up what they're discussing. So it's a good thing.
When we get a BOCC admin, we can.
Yeah, we'll try to get it. So we're not gonna, Kelly, start doing that right now. Yeah. Out of the goodness of her heart, she's doing what she's doing.
Good point.
Let's be good to her. We need her for a few more weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So that's all I wanted to bring up.
Yeah,
Till next time.
there you go.
Yep.
We good?
Yep, you're up.
All righty. The only thing I've had is actually in regards to the sale of that lot that we did the other day.
It's on tomorrow's agenda.
That's on tomorrow's agenda. Well, then I won't even address it then today.
Thank you.
So, I will, defer on that just since it's on tomorrow's agenda. And then, just a quick note, I will be in Florence at the fire department meeting tonight. And then I do have a meeting, tomorrow afternoon. Actually, Matt and I are meeting with Jeremiah to go and look at that Vermont Tower
What he said.
site, so. And I'm trying to just see what it's gonna take, we're addressing the IGA here today, but, the intergovernmental agreement. But we're trying, since it's everybody's budget season, trying to find out what it will cost to to bring that stuff up to snuff for all the agencies concerned, so we know what to budget for next year.
That may be some point to make, so everybody understands why is our maintenance guy going up to that tower? Well, it happens to be another building that has a heating and a cooling system in it. And it's a good thing we got a guy now that can take a look at another county responsibility and see what we need to do.
And this tower site is not in our contract
No.
with them,
That's
but he has agreed to go up and look at it, and then we can have that discussion.
Figure out what we're gonna do.
For next year. But he has some people that, I'm also reaching out to, Lisa Kidwell is going to go up and give us an estimate on. We're not bidding anything.
No,
here.
it's
We're
not a bid, it's just
we're
looking at it.
getting, information on, from a couple of sources to see what it's gonna take to make that thing fly, so. That's the purpose of these.
Yeah, and in this case, when it gets hot, it sends out an SOS 911 call.
The state gets that.
And
and
the
then
state
they
keeps
send
saying,
an
what's
estimate.
wrong with you guys?
And the generator, the transfer switch has at some point been changed out to where it is not a it's Kohler generator. The state is not happy that the transfer switch is not OEM, and they have stated they want that fixed. And the generator, I believe at this time is not doing its weekly test runs.
It's a, what kind of generator?
It's a Kohler.
It's a Kohler.
So I have reached out. I've been playing phone tag with Lynn Miller as well. Since he deals with those, trying so I can maybe get an accurate figure from him and on if we can get parts for that. When I go up there, I want to find out exactly what we got in there for a generator, what it is. So he can find out if we can get the stuff for it and we can get a price for parts, and if we have to go the other route, get a price for a replacement. And so that's kind of where we're at on that, but we'll address the IGA here a little later. That's all I got. You have anything for us, sir?
I don't know.
Kelly,
That's right.
okay. It'll take us to public comment, if you have something you'd like to comment on this time. Not see anything here. I think I had a hand online. Deb Adams, you have something?
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen. I know reports are tomorrow, but I volunteer at the recycling center on Wednesday. So I just want to share that Custer County Tourism had a social media campaign called the Getaway Giveaway that ran for 6 weeks to promote off-season travel. It was seen by over 200,000 people and received close to 3,000 entries. 2 winners were selected to visit us between October 15th, 2023 and April 15th, 2024. Tourism would like to thank the local businesses that participated to the success of this getaway giveaway. This was a great example of a community collaboration that benefits our county working together for a positive outcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Lynn,
Lana Riga, I have a comment. Last session, Dave Lutz asked about internal controls and as it related to out-of-cycle checks. And he went through different scenarios and talked about the internal controls that Fremont County has. And he asked if Custer County had any. And Kevin, I think you commented that you didn't have anything like Fremont County. At the same time, when your auditor was here, I commented and asked about internal controls, if any had been audited that related to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which requires that the county have adequate internal controls to protect the assets of the county. Sam DiNardo made the comment that he did a financial audit, but there were some controls that they needed to look at. Now, we have made a request. We wanted to see the check that was made out to Braden Wilson for when his severance pay. And it's come back that you want us to do a core request. If we have to do that, we're willing to do that. But I wanted to tell you a little bit why we want that, and it's necessary. I have Bill gave us a sheet of paper that was dated August the 23rd, that a check went to Braden in the amount of $30,000. It has the check number on August 23rd. Now, on August 23rd is when you had the Board of County Commissioners meeting. That's when you actually retracted the county manager position. And that meeting started at 1. I can't remember how long it went, but it went most of the afternoon. And so I'm interested in internal controls, because I'm wondering, when was this check presented to the bank? When was it cleared? Because it appears that this check was created before you even voted to remove the county manager position. And so I'm real interested in the internal controls you have in place for these out of cycle checks. Who signed it, when it was signed, who approved it? And this is why we want to know this. And I would think that you should be interested in that type of internal control as well, because it looks like the check was created before his position was even eliminated and he cashed it. And so this is something that's real important to the citizens, and we want to know how this occurred. So this is the reason we're asking for this. If you want us to do a core request, we're perfectly willing to do that. But we would think that you might go ahead and offer this up so we could look at it and we could see what those internal controls are. And I would think that you want to know those internal controls as well. Okay?
Thank you. Okay. Matt.
Matt Biles, and I would as well. In as much as, accountant auditor was here last week. We heard that the county got its first qualified opinion on an audit. Basically in recorded history. And so I don't know that there was per se mention of internal controls there regarding this out of cycle check, but they certainly were mentioned. And I was respectfully suggested you commissioners would want to get to the bottom of that and get ready for whatever's coming with this audit. And if it was me, I would want to fix whatever problem occurred that led to this out of cycle check, led to this happening, because I would suggest an auditor is going to be looking at that very hard next year. And so as far as what Mr. Rigo says, I would say the same thing and add what I just said, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, not seeing anything else. We have no unfinished business today. New business, our first item on the agenda is the consideration of approving the Department of Revenue Memorandum of Understanding for sales and lodging tax. And we do have a copy of that in our packet. This is an annual agreement and that we have basically between the clerk and the state, correct?
Yes, it's between the county and Department of Revenue that you guys as commissioners appoint me to look at the sales and lodging taxes. So you've got one there for sales tax and you've got one there for lodging tax. It's two separate entities.
All right.
I don't see the second, Kelly, but we need to send both.
If you scroll down, there's
Yeah,
Oh.
2 pages there.
they're both the same, but at the top, they just have you write sales tax And
Oh,
then
I
at the
see.
Top of the other one.
Yeah. Alright.
Same agreement. And I would move. I guess we can do this in two separate motions. I would move that we approve the memorandum of understanding. Between Custer County. And naming. Custer County and. The Department of Revenue,
Mhm.
naming Kelly Camper to be the responsible agent for the sales tax.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Department of Revenue for the sales tax. Anything on the table? Any public comment? Seeing none online either. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries.
So when's it in effect?
It's from January.
January to
1st,
January. So we had, so there was that amount of time to approve it, or was there a reason to do it this early?
I have to have it to them by the end of November.
That's
so
what I
just
said.
for the-
Got it.
When they send it. Or when they send it.
And I would move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with the Colorado Department of Revenue in regards to naming Kelly Kemper the responsible agent for the lodging tax.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion on the floor to approve the memorandum of understanding between the county and the Department of Revenue for the lodging tax. Anything here at the table? Anything from the room? And nothing online. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. Next item would be the consideration of the Humane Society of Fremont County Incorporated impound agreement. And this is an annual agreement that we have with them. It is, if you go to, I'm looking for, there's a price in here.
Second page and number D.
There it is. So this agreement goes through the same things that they do. The services that we get from them for impound services for the county. And the lump sum payment, annual payment to them for these services is $319.53. It can be made with 12 installments. For $319.53, I think I would prefer to do an annual payment.
How many times did we use this service last year? Do we know?
I've only heard of it a couple times. I have no idea.
It would probably be a sheriff's office question. They are the ones that deal with it a lot, more so than anyone else.
Oh,
What's a good thing? It keeps us from having to have a control officer up here. We'll take it.
I'll make the motion to approve the agreement.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion on the floor to approve the agreement, impound agreement with the Humane Society of Fremont County Incorporated. Anything, any discussion here at the table? Any public comment? Hearing none, Those in favor of approving the Humane Society of Fremont County Incorporated impound agreement signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. Next item would be the consideration of approval of the contract with Baseline Engineering for the sidewalk project.
Ours, yeah, got it. Found it.
And I believe Jennifer is online. Jennifer Gates from Baseline, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for being here with us today. We do have a contract. And I did not pull that one up. Forgive me for a second as I get that pulled up.
I'll send it to you. Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
Could you send it to me too, please?
Make it a full round.
I was thinking I had them all right there in one tidy package.
You need it, Mr. Slater?
I have it, I drafted it, so.
Was it this one? I hope.
It should have a couple of attachments to it.
I just have 6 pages.
Okay, it has the contract that Dan wrote up, and then it should also have their proposal with it. Okay, that's the proposal.
And I don't have, I don't have a contract one.
Okay. Let me find it then. Might have to have Dan send it to us.
I'm working on it right now.
Okay. I think he sent it September 27th. Well,
Oh, I think I quickly have just the contract, I don't have the attachment. Immediately.
so what you sent me, Lucas, which is the
Proposal.
baseline proposal, is part of this. That is included with the contract that Dan, you said you had the contract you could send us?
Just went,
Okay,
should get in the next couple of seconds.
okay. You get it? You got yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
Got it.
You know, we'll give everyone just a couple minutes here to look through this
I
thing.
got it.
And for
So in summary, we looked at it, and then what happened, Kevin?
when we have this signed contract, the next step in this process then would be setting up a and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, the next step after you guys and us agree on this contract would be to have a kickoff meeting between us, yourselves, and CDOT, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
And that's the purpose of this meeting today, was to finalize that so we could.
yes, we voted to
We
move
did,
forward
right.
with baseline, but we did not have a contract in place,
Right.
and Dan has since put this contract together.
Mhm.
I thought I had sent that out to everyone before, and I think we had it in our emails, so
We did.
you have seen this.
I had,
Uh, And I know Jennifer, we're talking about something you have not seen yet because we have not agreed to it. This is a draft until we okay it.
Right.
And if we approve this here today, we will send this out to you, this afternoon so that you guys can go through it and look at it as well.
So I have a couple of questions and then we can
Okay.
decide how we're gonna do it. Dan, you wrote this, right? Based on what?
Based on the, well, number one, based on the proposal that we had from baseline. Based on, actually, there were two proposals. There was the initial, kind of the bound proposal they had submitted, and I think there was a letter that had more details in terms of the actual cost estimate that they provided to us. And so that was the basis for this contract in terms of the template for this contract. It's something I've used for the.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, is there anything surprising here? Is there anything that's different? Is there anything that's, we have to be leery of?
No, this, I think,
I think so.
everybody has worked. It's the basic structure of this has worked for a number of other projects in the past.
And it goes over their scope of work, county obligations and ownership of the work, compensation, the commencement of the work, any change orders, professional responsibility, compliance with the laws and regulations. I think one thing that baseline asked for, it's not in the contract, but in the proposal that we would probably should be aware of before we vote on this would be that they have asked that we would waive permit fees for this project as a county,
Thought we did, didn't
which
we? We discussed it. didn't we?
most of the fees would probably be through the town of
Like
West
80%.
Bliss anyway, rather than through the county, but I believe, any fees associated with the county, they have asked that we would waive those.
So this contract incorporates their bid as part of the contract, and part of their bid was that we would waive any of those fees. So just to clarify, the contract doesn't say that we won't waive those fees. The contract, in fact, agrees that we are agreeing with all the terms that are in their proposal,
Okay,
including.
which was that?
Yes.
Okay,
So I just, in case you guys had not seen that, I wanted you to be aware of that. So
Now, this is being funded by a grant, correct?
it's a grant provided through Colorado Department of Transportation.
100% too. and
It is 100%, but it is a reimbursable grant, so
We gotta pay it.
we pay it up front and then submit for reimbursement.
The only other question I have, it says time is of the essence. That's sort of a generic thing. It is of the essence because we gotta do it before it freezes. And the snow flies.
Yeah.
And that's one of, what I understood was one of the reasons to get along with it. If that's not
Well,
true.
we just don't want to wait, have this hang over us a year from now.
It could be if we don't do it soon.
And for everyone's information, this agreement is with Baseline Engineering. This is for the engineering contract. This is not for the construction phase. This is,
Without the engineering, you can't construct.
yeah, so this is step one.
And from this, we would be able to develop an RFP or RFB
Right.
for the construction project itself.
Okay, I'm good. I move we accept what are we accepting the contract?
Accept or approve, I guess,
Approve the contract
I would say.
as written.
Yeah, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So I have a motion on the floor to approve the agreement, the contract with Baseline Engineering for their services on the sidewalk project. Any further discussion here at the table? Any public comment?
The maximum liability here, is that gonna cover it until the grant comes through?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So if it's a reimbursable amount, we're gonna have to spend the amount before we get it reimbursed.
Right.
If that amount is over the amount in this contract, is that
It's reimbursable, I believe, in the steps. I mean,
Steps.
when we don't have to wait until all of the funds are expended before
Okay.
we can put in for reimbursement. Is that correct, Jennifer?
I believe so. I would have to double check with Matt at CDOT on
Okay.
that for you. I don't know the answer 100% on the CDOT funding.
All I know is when CDOT funds the aviation stuff, it's whatever you spend a check, they'll reimburse as long as you submit it.
Okay.
It shows that it's been spent.
Go ahead.
Nadine Peterson, I'm wondering, where are these sidewalks going to be put in?
This is along Highway 69 here on the west side of the courthouse. This project includes actually changing the elevation of the highway surface and the drainage and addressing the sidewalk and ADA access to the courthouse on that side. All right, seeing no other comments. Those in favor of approving the contract with Baseline Engineering for the sidewalk project signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Oh, you were jumping in,
Sorry.
you weren't waiting on me this time.
I wasn't.
I was getting used to having to go before you all. So that motion
It worked.
carries. And Jennifer, we will, right after the meeting, I will make sure that you get a copy of this sent to you.
Okay,
And we will have our copy signed and then sent to you and for your approval.
okay. And then I will send it to our powers that be. And then once everything is agreed upon, I will get with Matt at CDOT and figure out what our next steps are on making sure that we schedule that meeting. And I believe it will be an in-person meeting where Noah and I will come up, and I believe our project engineer that will be working on the project will come up as well for a site evaluation on everything.
Okay, I thank you for that. And then if you guys agree to this contract, or if you have any changes that you need or whatever, if you could get back with me, that would be great. And if you have a signed contract, if you could send that back to us as well.
Okay, most definitely.
And sending this via email, scanned in and email would be adequate for you at this point.
Yes, that would be adequate for us at this point.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate you. We look forward to working with you.
Same here.
Bye.
Okay. Next item on our agenda will be the consideration of approval of the intergovernmental agreement for the maintenance and repair of Vertimont and Deer Peak Tower sites. We do have these two sites, and there are 5 entities that use these towers for communications in the county, which includes Custer County is the main entity here. The Vertimont Tower site we do own. I believe we are leasers on the Deer Peak site. But between us, the sheriff's office, Wet Mountain Fire, and the Custer County School District, and Custer County Emergency Medical Services under the umbrella of the Custer County Hospital District. So there are 5 entities we share. Under the current agreement, we all share the cost of the maintenance on these sites. And under the current agreement, the Custer County, the Wet Mountain Fire has been the lead agency as far as taking care of the maintenance, and then the county itself has been the fiscal agent. And at this time, the Wet Mountain Fire is wishing to pull back from that lead role on that and turn that back to the county for the maintenance of the facilities. At this time, the Vertimont Tower, like as I stated earlier, we're looking at what we need to do. The building down there, from my understanding, is in good shape. I'll look at that more when I go down there later. But the two main issues that we have at this time is the heating and air conditioning unit in that building, and also the generator. And that is the main infrastructure that we would be responsible for. The transmission, the radio repeaters and things of that nature are actually state-owned. So we have nothing to do with those. So this is only for the infrastructure. And the rest of the agreement is very similar. It does not change the fact that the 5 entities split the costs of the maintenance and upkeep between them.
So I missed where in this agreement, it said fire department was in charge there, and it just says it's an agreement between all 5 entities. Where did they take a lead? And what did they do for the lead, Kevin?
Basically, they have been responsible when the bells and whistles go off and the AC unit's not working. They have been.
So they alert us to fix it.
They are the ones that have been getting those calls and going up and making sure that to get the AC unit running, if the generator needs work on it.
Yeah.
They're doing that.
So in here somewhere it says we'll do that instead of them.
Yes,
Like
and it starts off,
Paragraph number 5 is the one that says we're recording, we're the agency to coordinate.
It says the dispute has been. Okay, it says that they will do it in 5.
Are you looking at the 2023?
No, I was looking at 18 because I wanted to
Okay.
see what was gonna
Yeah.
change.
so yes, at the present time, it names them as the one that takes the lead on all of the maintenance and things of that nature.
So who calls them? How's that call transferred? How do we get to it? If we take that, who's gonna answer the phone?
That would be, we would need to decide that, because if the county takes that over, then we need to make the decision as to where this falls. We have not made that decision yet, but if we approve this new agreement, then that would be something that we would need to do. And if we made that fall under the current maintenance agreement that we have, then by default there, Matt would probably be the one to receive that call. It had been suggested that this might fall under OEM, but I don't believe so, not for the infrastructure. I think if it was just the communication, the emergency communications, which this does not address, then it would fall under OEM, but I believe this would fall under the county, and then we would need to designate the responsible party to take care of the maintenance and the upkeep, and to receive those calls when something does happen. And that's also why we're wanting to address the AC unit, because it has been giving problems this past year or so, quite a few times. And so that's why and since it's budget season, everybody wants to see what we need to do to bring this stuff up to par, so that we're not having multiple calls to go out and babysit this stuff.
Is the alarm based upon support equipment failure, or is it based upon radio failure?
The alarm for the AC heating unit, from my understanding and from our meeting the other day, is based upon there's sensors in the building itself, and when the temperature goes out of the proper parameters, then that sends notification to the state, and then they make the phone call.
Okay.
And at the present time, Jeremy at Wet Mountain Fire is the one receiving those calls.
Okay.
And then I believe it's through the communication on the generator. The generator has not failed per se, but it's apparently some of the weekly checks either are not being reported or are not happening, and the state, I think, believes that is because the transfer switch is not original equipment.
Right.
And I think that is supposed to be original equipment, so they have sent emails to that regard to Red Mountain Fire in regards to that as well.
Couple comments here, maybe, because if at the risk of putting the cart before the horse, normally you would want to figure out who's going to do what, and then we would agree with the contract. I don't think anything's going to change between now and the end of January, that they're still under this contract and they're still going to be getting the notices, and they're going to field the calls until January, correct? Till the new IGA is in effect.
When the new IGA takes effect is when that. will
Right,
change.
and that, on this, it was in January 1st of 18.
Well, you're looking, you need to look
I
at the
know, I'm just,
23,
I'm,
yeah.
no, what's it say now? It says today,
I believe we are the last entity to approve this IGA. Upon our approval,
then it's
it
gonna be in
would
effect.
probably be in
Well.
effect. I would imagine that Jeremy has said that he's willing to make sure that everything transfers smoothly. I mean, you can't just make that change in the
Well,
call list overnight.
Yeah,
either.
and that's the point. I think we ought to wait until we decide how we're handling the maintenance, because I think that's a good thing to do. I mean, we're gonna burden somebody else with getting a call from somewhere. And we sure don't want the state to get a 911 call because our equipment's out. So maybe there's a way of handling it before when we know something's going out before it overheats the thing.
Well, the cost for the inspection and any repairs are gonna be split
5
evenly,
ways,
right? 5 ways.
still
None of
under
that
this
changes.
Right.
So. Let's say we use our contracted guy to do that. He's got to keep those in, I mean, he's got to keep that very clean. All that invoicing, so it's kept separate from his contract. I
And
mean,
the
that's
money's funded separately.
definitely needs, I'd like to see that as a different contract, just for that up there. So I think we would need to put some things in place. Or quickly after
Right, because we're
doing this,
scrambling.
and if he wants to take that, there's a lot of guys that wouldn't take a 24-hour call at any point in time. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
I
we do.
agree that probably makes sense to put it in our hands.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing it. We just gotta do it without doing it backwards.
Yeah, and I don't want to fail either our other agencies that we're dealing with, or
Right now, it's nothing's gonna stop until we sign it.
I don't know if I have anybody here from. I
Meanwhile,
don't have
it sure
anybody
won't
from
stop
that.
us from going out there and trying to fix it, figure out what's wrong with it, and doing everything we gotta do to get this process going and get it fixed now.
how long have we been getting letters from the state that I mean, is this
I
been
cannot
recent,
answer that question.
or has this been ongoing for 10 years and they're finally starting to? I mean,
You know,
fix your stuff and then I'll be willing to take it over to a certain degree, right?
Well, and we're kind of in the
I
process.
used the
of
first
doing-
150,000 miles on the jalopy, and I'm gonna give it to
but now we're
Uh,
gonna, but we still have.
I
to fix it.
don't want a jalopy.
And there's a good idea, is that we're gonna share the cost, so there's nothing gonna stop us from dealing with the problem. Let's get it fixed.
And,
then we
and
can
that's
figure
what
out-
we're in process of doing at the present time by
So let,
getting this stuff.
I think we ought to.
These repairs are basically. It's late enough in the year to be, by the time we got everything done, it would be after the first of the year anyway. That's why, with it becoming budget season, that's why we're trying to get these estimates. To move forward
So we
with
get the
that.
estimates without this new IGA.
And so basically, the only thing that changes on this intergovernmental agreement, is the fact that Wet Mountain Fire would no longer be receiving those calls, and Custer County would. And that would be dependent upon who we designated to do that.
So I feel then, Kevin, that we just put this, we're gonna discuss the maintenance contract here in a little bit anyway. So let's, I wouldn't want to sign it until we're still gonna go fix it anyway. So let's get our act together first, figure out how we're gonna, who's gonna field the call, how we're gonna do it, what contract we're gonna use, where the money comes from to do the repairs, because I don't know when the last time is we repaired anything up there. Do you?
The fire department's been bringing people they've been,
Yeah, but-
on the AC unit, they've been patching things together.
Have we been paying checks? I don't know. I haven't seen any, I don't recall.
From what I thought I had heard is that the hospital board hadn't made a contribution for. or West
They
County.
had not gotten one for the last 2 years now. Last year, there was a repair made for, I believe it was on the generator. It was like $1,400. The fire department said they did receive their invoice on that. So I don't know what the scoop was on the hospital district for that.
So we need to figure out how that's handled. The fire department evidently wasn't billing everybody, or I don't know. We just, let's figure it out, and then we can set a process in place or a procedure if we're gonna take it over.
Well, I think, yeah, because we get an invoice and I don't, we need to talk to Matt. Will Matt take this on, or will it
Right.
just be like, no, and
And
then
then we gotta
do
figure,
we?
we still have to figure out where it goes in the budget anyway. It must be, if we've been paying for it in the past, it came out of somewhere. We need to figure it out. It's new to me. This
So
was
it
signed in
comes out of
18.
our grounds and maintenance,
Does it?
I would imagine,
Well, I don't know.
on the repairs. So,
I don't know.
we have. And I couldn't speak.
Or
to
me
that.
maybe moving in there from a general fund pot. I don't know. We need to talk about it.
And that part of it doesn't change where, according to this agreement either.
No,
So,
I do think that it makes sense that we take it over, we maintain it, we inspect it. Whether that's how we get those details worked out to get a contractor that regularly does it. Or whether that's our contracted guy or.
See, and that would help if there was a regular look at, just like we're doing now, finally getting our operations looked at and doing things before things happen bad.
Right.
Preventive maintenance.
so what's your pleasure?
Let's
You guys
delay.
want to postpone it?
Yep, I do.
And we can have that conversation with, Matt and Shakespeare
Yeah.
to see if that's what you gentlemen would like to see happen.
Or whatever, or having somebody write up the process, the policy or the procedures and who contacts who when something happens, all that stuff.
Because this is not a part of that existing contract.
That's right.
that we have.
Yeah,
that's right.
So, in my conversations with him, if we were going to move forward with this, it would be just a billed hourly under the additional items. And did not voice that they did not want to take it on, but I could not speak wholly to that.
Hmm.
And that was just in my conversations with Matt, not with anyone else there.
Yeah.
So if we want to set that up in place and then revisit that, we can.
And we'll discuss it in our little workshop.
Correct.
Okay,
I agree.
that sounds good. So. Next item up would be the consideration of ratifying the San Carlos Ranger District Grant Letter of Support. And now I'll change things here.
Got a different packet.
No, it was in the original one.
I'll send it to you. If I have the right one.
I've got the hard copies in that. Packet of paper. Very, it should be the very last one.
And I can read this, if you guys haven't found it, it's, to the
Yeah, good idea.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife State Trails Program. Dear Non-Motorized Trail Grant Subcommittee. Custer County would like to submit our letter of support for the San Carlos Ranger District's non-motorized trail through 2023 grant application. As trail advocates and public land stewards, we recognize the important non-motorized trail maintenance work this crew would perform, which is especially important given the increase in recreational visitation that the local areas are experiencing. We recognize the great work the San Carlos Ranger District performs to increase access to our public lands, improve safety, facilitate positive recreation opportunities, and provide overall benefit to wildlife and natural resources through managing recreation at a landscape scale. Due to the continued rise in use of all trails across the area, the general maintenance and upkeep of the trail systems is imperative to ensure the longevity of outdoor recreation opportunities. The San Carlos Ranger District is responsible for managing hundreds of miles of trail, and having a crew dedicated to non-motorized trail maintenance will improve the sustainability of the trail, as well as increasing accessibility and providing a better recreational experience. The local forest has been adversely affected by drought, insects, and disease. Many of the trees in the forest have declined rapidly in health and vigor, creating a heavy loading of fuels, as well as many standing snags along the trail corridors. Much of the system could greatly benefit from drainage and tread repair, in addition to overall corridor brushing, which would be accomplished if this grant were awarded. We hope you accept this letter of support to fund a non-motorized trail crew on the San Carlos Ranger District for the 2024 and 2025 summer seasons. Thank you. And this is the, we did sign this letter Monday, and this is for ratification of this letter of our signatures on that.
I move to ratify San Carlos Ranger District grant letter of support.
I'll second it.
So I do have a motion on the floor to ratify the signatures on the grant letter to Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Any more discussion here?
Sure.
Anything, any public comment? Matt?
This is tangential to that. But I talked to Jeff Uther last week, I guess, or a couple of weeks ago, about the possibility of getting the rangers, the park rangers at the Great Sand Dunes, not forest rangers from the Department of Agriculture, but the park rangers from the Department of Interior, letting us ride untagged vehicles, four-wheelers and so forth, up over Madanao Pass and then down into the national park at the dunes. Jeff advised me that the rangers down there were for it. He said they had tried to get that done, to let us do that, which, I would like to be able to do that, take people over there. But that an edict had come down from Washington saying no. Jeff also told me that he thought that it wouldn't take a lot of pressure, maybe a U.S. representative or whatever. They could get that done. If they say something to the Park Service, National Park Service might be able to get that done. So I'd like to see it done. I don't know what the board here could do to see that it would get done, but it's kind of tangential, the deal that you're working on there. It sounds like somewhat tangential, so it's maybe somewhat related, but
It's related.
I have that comment and that's all I have on.
Thank you, sir.
We'll bring it up for another day.
And I'm not seeing anything online. Those in favor then of ratifying the signatures on the support letter for the San Carlos Ranger District. Signify by saying aye.
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 Next item on our agenda would be the consideration of waiving the $90 fee for Cora request from Joy Anderson. And that is for the Cora request for, I believe, for all of the emails that were requested. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that is for time.
yes, so there was two separate core requests. Per statute, the first hour of research and putting together a core request is you can't charge for, and then after that, our county policy is to charge $30 an hour. Each of these requests took 2.5 hours. So an hour and a half extra on each of them for a total of 3 hours.
Thank you.
So I'm confused, although not confused. I just, Lynn brought up, there's been several requests. So this is a separate request for just emails. Is that what this was?
Mhm.
And then I know there's been requests for a lot of stuff lately. So this is just for the email?
And
Yes,
that's the one you already did.
Yeah.
Already executed.
Okay,
yes, I just haven't released it yet because we don't release it till we get paid.
okay. Well, I move we waive the $90 fee if you've already done it and release it.
A motion on the floor. Do I have a second? That motion would die due to lack of a second.
And the only reason I brought that up is it seems. Well, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
We don't typically waive the fees, do we?
No.
No.
Okay.
I thought it was tied with the others, so it didn't matter. I was looking at
I
it.
believe the others fell into the timeframe,
Okay,
that
that's
rush
the
hour
difference.
timeframe.
So I'll withdraw that thing.
Okay.
The matters failed anyway.
Okay, our next item up on the agenda would be the consideration of releasing the audio from the July 31st BOCC executive session.
Okay, we tabled this, didn't we? We bring this from last meeting. I can't remember how it evolved. Who's this?
So this one got moved,
Mhm.
right? Because of the 17th was requested and then they changed it to 31st.
Right,
I still have not got a recording of this. So. I guess I'm gonna make the motion that we move this to the Wednesday. That's the 18th, 16th, 17th, 18th meeting in Wetmore, October 18th meeting in Wetmore.
and you can't get the recording because of why?
We don't have USB drives.
You don't have, you're out of drive or thumb drives.
They're ordered, I just don't, I haven't got.
Can you use one that I have that you already recorded? It's only one per, right?
No.
One per and.
And you can't put it back in.
It's gotta be brand new
Yeah.
because we don't.
We don't want to. Fremont County.
contaminate it.
No, we don't want, that's, I just want to make it clear.
You do not like that.
That is perfectly clear.
So.
It's, as long as it's not expiring, we don't want to erase it. So. Is it in danger of being erased
The
for some
request
reason?
is put in, I don't believe anything will be erased.
Well, I don't know. Let's make sure that it isn't.
I'm perfectly aware that,
Okay.
yes.
And
Not right.
just to. Cause I don't know, I mean, you haven't told me whether you want me here on the 18th or need me here on the 18th, but I will advise that I did take a look at this yesterday. I am concerned that this request, this particular request, because it involves individuals who are not finalists for a position, may be a request that the board cannot grant under the Colorado Open Records Act. Because the Colorado Open Records Act indicates, just as some background, there's a number of different types of records listed in the Open Records Act. Some of them are records that the custodian of records shall provide. Some of them say she may provide. Some of them say that she may choose not to provide. There's another set of records called the kind of records that shall be denied. In other words, there's no discretion on behalf of the custodian of records. And among those that are the custodian shall deny the right of inspection to include records submitted by or on behalf of an applicant or candidate for any employment position, including an applicant for an executive position who is not a finalist. None, and only one of these individuals was obviously a finalist. And so I am concerned that discussion of the records that we cannot disclose is essentially disclosing those records. And to the extent that any discussion in this meeting discussed records that we cannot disclose, I really think it walks the line of disclosing things that the state law says we cannot disclose. So on all these other open meetings requests or executive session requests, obviously I would have told you if I thought the board can't grant those requests, and I in fact advised the board that you can grant those requests. I think this is one where I'm concerned the board cannot grant this request.
All right, and so I don't I hear you. I maybe need a little more explanation, but is there some case then that says I was under the impression that once an application is submitted and then and makes the initial cut as an application, then therefore it is an open record. That was my understanding from the when I called up the CTSI.
If they are a finalist, yes.
Well,
if they are not a finalist, the state law is very clear that it is not.
so did they define what a finalist is? Because in my mind, we narrowed it down to 4 finalists that we were going to interview.
The board clearly voted on who the finalist was. And under the statute, and that goes back to the.
Okay, and that's
other
in the
statute.
minutes of the meeting on the 31st.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was on the August, I think the August 1st meeting is when the board declared a finalist.
I thought it was, I don't know, I thought we looked at, I don't think so.
Commissioner
We,
Kent, I was there, I can tell you that the board, there was a motion to declare.
No, I agree with that.
we had a special meeting to decide who we had 8 applicants. We had a meeting to decide who out of those 8 applicants we wanted to interview.
Right.
And that is how we stated that. Then we had one of the 4 that we chose to interview for their name from consideration. And then we had a meeting to interview those 3 individuals. And then we had a meeting to name the finalists. And so up to that point to where we named the finalists, they were applicants.
Let me read something here. I just happened I pulled up the 31st of July's meeting minutes. And in that was an executive session. And I'll read that. It says the executive session was to discuss a personnel matter, and the board went into an executive session at 10:02 to discuss the applicants for county manager. Those present were Commissioner Day, Commissioner Kanda, Commissioner Flower, County Attorney Dan Slater by phone, and Kelly Camper, clerk. The board reconvened back into the normal session at 11:13. At that point, the motion was made that by Commissioner Day to name candidate A as the finalist. And then the vote took place. Flower voted aye, Kanda voted nay, Day voted aye. So that was the executive session was where we interviewed the people. And so that was my,
And the interviews that were actually before that executive.
yeah, they were in before the executive session, and we went in there and we discussed who the finalists would be. And that's what we made a list of, and it came out of it.
Came out of it was one finalist, yes.
That's what the record here says, that it was chosen.
So if
Which is different.
all the discussion was just about the one finalist, then that would be fine, but the problem is the discussion was about individuals who were not finalists.
There was discussion of all of them, and then here's what else happened. Then Kanda made an amendment that said that was died, and it was to see here. Amended to include a candidate G, and then that died because it didn't have a second, because so then that was then how it was selected. So that, okay, if there's some precedent, then I don't know about it. I still feel that they, based on, maybe there is something else that says the state law agreed that once they made that cut, that they were considered, because that was the word I got. I'm sorry, that's just all I know. I know that maybe it needs more discussion.
So had we picked, or had there been picked 4 finalists, then that would have all been, because we would have had to publicly notify the community that there's 4 finalists. These are the 4 finalists.
Right.
Here's their resumes, here's their work experience.
Yep.
On and on.
That would have been nice. Would have been transparent.
It's at the table here, sir.
Well, what happens if I could ask next? I mean,
There's still motion on the floor.
There's,
Actually, yeah.
we're at the table.
Well,
I see.
are we in
We don't-
discussion?
We don't have a.
There's
motion.
no motion.
But nobody seconded it. So
Oh, okay, never mind.
So the request you had was to wait until the 13th. You wanted to listen to the tape.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's, and then maybe that's still valid, and maybe we need to do some research here to make sure that, I don't know what the record is that we would release if we released the executive session. Are you worried about the personnel records, or the fact that, or their names, or the fact that we had 4 people we considered? Does it matter?
I think to the extent that you're discussing the records that have been submitted by the individuals who were not the finalists, that really gets into an area where I think you may be.
Like one finalist had more experience doing X and the other one did Y.
Right, even if you're not naming their names, I think you're having a discussion about things that probably make them personally identifiable. And I mean, beyond the other question of whether that's even a good idea, I'm gonna let the 3 of you figure that out if you get past this, but I think you've got a problem where any one of those non-finalists in theory could have a cause of action against the county for releasing information that is protected by the Open Records Act.
And that information would be something that he would be in his resume.
The simple fact that they applied,
The simple fact that they
the
applied.
simple fact that they applied because their names are not public records.
Even if we didn't name the names, we didn't name any names. names in that meeting that I'm aware of.
I don't remember off the top of my head whether we named names or not, but.
We were
I know we had
candidates A, B,
specific,
C, D, and F and G.
I know we had specific I think we started. With A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then the discussion was, well, we're in an executive session, we can call them by name,
Maybe so. I don't
so.
have to look. I don't remember. Well, it might be useful for you to listen before we decide anything.
Okay, and that died due to the lack of a second, or we didn't have a motion on this, is it, anyway, so. If you would, at this point,
Still, we're
until he
discussing it.
listens to, and to find out anything, I believe that this would be. I guess you already
Still
did make a
looking.
motion to move it to the. Or that was just discussion. To move it to the.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, without listening to it, I won't release it.
Yeah.
So
Plain
that's why I
and
think it's
simple.
so move it into the 13th.
I mean, if, don't have to move it and it can get requested by citizens again, but I don't want to waste citizens' time either. So why not just move it to the next meeting? And we can't move it to tomorrow's meeting, we're after the 24 hours. So that's why I made the original motion to move it to the 18th.
Okay. And that is a motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to move this item of business to the mid-month meeting in Wetmore. Any further discussion on that? Anything from the room? Sir,
Good afternoon, Matt Miles. It's a little shocking that this thing happened because of lack of a flash drive, but I guess that is what it is. And the other thing is, it would seem to me that we would be getting some help on this, and I mean by we, the people in the county. Instead, we're paying for core requests and so forth, that I would respectfully suggest are things that this commission should be doing to figure out what happened with this situation, but that's okay, because we'll wait until the 18th, but I would like to address some of the stuff that was talked about today, just briefly, kind of as a preface
if you could keep it to the item of.
to where we're
the
going.
Motion now,
It is to the item,
okay,
and if it's not, stop me.
okay,
I have the agenda for the Monday, July 31st, 2023 meeting. And the executive session is listed as personnel matter, county manager for per 24-6-402, print 4, print F, CRS. Now, it's my understanding that the only objection or problem with releasing the information is that it may have this personnel situation with the applicants to the for the position. That's, I understand everything else is behind us. So we don't need to talk about the problem that exists because this executive session is not noticed properly or anything else. So I'm going to get then right to the heart of the matter. Colorado statutes 24-72-204, and it's on down in there, but I'm gonna read it. It's I guess it's Roman numeral 11, capital A. Okay, it talks about what can be, what cannot and shall not be released, and it specifies documents. And I want to make it perfectly clear that we're not requesting documents. We do not want documents. All we want is the recording of what was talked about. Okay, and I would also respectfully suggest that that the names of the people are not secret and to be kept secret. But again, it talks about documents. And there is a relatively new case on this. It is the Prairie Mountain case, and I'm pretty sure that is the case that the county attorney referenced in the last section that maybe gave him some concern. And that Prairie Mountain case is fairly new. It's March 4th, 2021. And in that case, the Prairie Mountain Publishing had requested documents. And they had requested other materials, but they had requested documents. And what the court said in that case is that, yes, indeed, where you have a search committee, where you do all those things that you're required to do by the statute, all of that stuff is done properly. I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Then there can be, if you've got 100 applicants, there can be a finalist of one. And that's what happened. There was a finalist of one. And the court said it's not our prerogative to help
need to
the
wrap it up.
legislature.
You can have my 2 minutes.
It's not our prerogative.
You need to wrap it up. Your 3 minutes is well past.
May I have,
Yes, sir.
Mr. McMahon, 3 minutes?
If you want the floor, you may have the floor. Your 3 minutes are up. I'm gonna keep it that way.
Hold on a second, because to me, I want to
Okay.
hear this.
We have 3 minutes. And that's stated. And you know that. And now you have 3 minutes if you would like to.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Jim McMahon. The secrecy about the people that put their hat in it, their name in the hat. You know, they knew they could get somewhat exposed to the public. Or no? Or was it that secretive? Was it that secretive? I don't know. You don't have to answer any of this. Just want it on the minutes. When somebody's going for a job like this, you want to get the best applicant. And it's kind of an open thing. It's like, yeah, we need to disclose these applicants. Or what you might call, we boiled it down to 4 or 5 finalists. And then we pick a winner of the finalists. Maybe I'm off here, but for the transparency of the constituents, to know that you guys did a really good job instead of kind of, ooh, we don't want anybody to know about this guy. We don't want anybody to know about this guy. So that we could be able to look at the apples and oranges. That's kind of what I was looking at. Was it just seemed like we'd hired finalist A before, and then we had to rescind that. And then we went through a procedure, and then we still ended up hiring that individual. Did he have any kind of competition, or did we just kind of put him in there? That's what kind of seemed a little odd to me. It just seemed like we should add a bit of transparency with the other folks that throw their name in the hat. Seems like that would be a search kind of committee deal. This whole thing stinks to high heaven. I never seen any behavior like this, Kevin.
And you are getting off from the motion on the floor, so
So
if you
you're
could
right,
bring
but
it
what
back
we're
to
looking
that.
at here is really, we would like to get that meeting minutes, and I don't think what you may plow the air with, and you may balk at again, because your attorney said this, so I'm not off what's going on here. I'm bouncing off of what the attorney said, sir. And I'm looking at this just from a plumber or farmer perspective. Where did them other folks, did we just toss them in the trash? Bill said he had a pretty good one. I'd like to know who that good one was, and how did he compare to the guy that got off with all the money? That's all. Thanks.
Thanks.
I'm wondering if, Nadine Peterson, I'm wondering if
if we don't get the recording released to us, would you authorize it to be transcribed by a legal transcriber or whoever, somebody? And they can redact all of the names or whatever it is that you don't want us to see, but we want to know what else went on in that meeting. So I request that, and you can put that on the agenda for next month or the 18th, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Parker. I find it kind of absurd that this process is being delayed by lack of a thumb drive. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And given that that's the case, I guess we'll have to put up with it, but I don't understand it. And secondly, if we're limited to 3 minutes, and I don't know where that rule comes from, find it in a statute somewhere if it's there. How do the citizens get to make their case? There's a problem here, and we want our case to be heard. And you're cutting off Matt Miles after 3 minutes when the man's making a factual presentation about what the citizens want to hear. You got to fix this, Kevin. It's not right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anyone else? I'm at public comment, just so I'll get to you in a second. Seeing nothing online. You have a statement, sir?
I sure do, because Kevin, bottom line is the 3 minute thing is the first time I've seen it on this agenda. 3 minutes, you put it in there.
Yes, I did.
We didn't vote to do that, and in fact, we have this. It's not unilateral power here. It's the board that speaks, and I care about getting things done correctly. And I believe that the people have the right to make their case, especially in a little county. I mean, it's not like we're going to got 100 people out here and we're trying to regulate a meeting and get that same thing done. We need to understand and be part of the process. It's a team. Do you agree that our financial records, for example, are open to the public? Do you? I'm making them. Yes, they are. Everything we have is open to the public, period. Now we can elect to have them pay for it or not. Our public records include things like checks. I want to bring up Lynn's point here. Checks written, canceled, or cashed, right? Are they or not? They are. Public record. Do our financial records include statements showing the check was cleared? Or in particular, one payable for anybody, and in particular, Braden Wilson, that's the one they're wanting to find out. And the reason that matters is because we want to do things correctly. We want to do things right. We want to do better. We don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to make not necessarily illegal mistakes, but improper things. Follow the procedures, follow the statutes. I want to make sure that we have policies that protect our citizens' money. That's what we're here charged to do. It's our fiduciary job. I wrote this down here just a little bit ago, and that when we are issuing checks, is it correct? I'm glad Lynn brought it up. Did we issue it at the right time? Was it done? This was an out of cycle check that was a very big check. In my view, it should have been voted on by all of us to go ahead and finish the job. We cannot afford to make mistakes with our citizens' money, the money that they have given and entrusted us with the fiduciary responsibility to manage them for them. Well, I want that to happen. Do we have the power to grant this request? We sure do. Right now, we could grant that request right this very minute. And that's what I would think that we should do. Because what is the point of delaying it? I don't mind delaying it until you get a chance to listen to the deal. That's fine on a thumb drive, and that's kind of crazy that we didn't have thumb drives.
We went through quite a few lately.
I know. Do we have the power to grant this request? Yes, we do. Now, yes, we do. We can do it now. So I want to resolve these issues so that we don't continue to make mistakes. We're lucky to have, think we're blessed to have every one of you that are sitting here and taking the time to do this. Every one of you. You too, Dan. I'm happy to have you bring up the things that you bring up because it helps us make the wise decisions that we need to make. And I don't want to squander their help, and I don't want to, this is free. You want to go pay for somebody to do an investigation for us? Heck no. We're already living on grants to do what they've offered to do, and with expertise that is bar none world class. I want to hear what Matt has to say at some point. I think we should do it now. I don't want to squander the help that we have. So I would absolutely move personally to, this is my view, to give them what they've asked. That check numbers of public record, the fact that it's there is public, and the fact that we don't, there's no reason to make them go through a FOIA request. Who grants the FOIA request? Who's the authority that says let it go? Who is it? It's us. So we're not letting somebody on the county decide to release something on a FOIA request. That's our job. I would be silly not to have us involved in that decision. So I think we should release it today. And not the tape necessarily. I want you to hear it, please.
That's not even on the agenda today, sir.
Doesn't have to be. We make the agenda, and we can certainly release this request that they've asked for.
There is a process that has been in place at the county that these are open records, but they go through a core request.
No, they don't have to.
We do have, that is separate from the motion that's on the floor.
I'm just
At
telling
the
you.
present time. We do have a motion on the floor. Is that not correct? And the motion was to move consideration of releasing the executive session from the July 31st BOCC meeting to the mid-month meeting in Wetmore. That is the motion on the floor. That's where this discussion should be.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I made a comment.
Any other public comment? Hearing none. Those in favor of moving this item of business to the mid-month meeting in Wetmore, signify by saying aye.
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 That motion carries. Any additional items of business?
And that's where I will go. You got something first.
Any additional items of business?
So to respond to the comment about, yeah, we could just give information out. But I'd hate to see what it would do to Kelly, because then all of a sudden, everybody's coming in wanting to see all the information. And without having a process that we have to go through, we would open ourselves up to, and she would be slammed. And then all of a sudden, we wouldn't be able to find. I would hate to open that can of worms.
No, I agree 100%. My point was, we've got a single request for some specific items, period, right now, that they brought up. I'm suggesting for a second that we just say anything they've come walking in here that they ought to have.
And we could do that. We can make all kinds of decisions here to do all kinds of things. But I think what it would end up doing is it open up a can of worms. I don't think we want to go down. And it would bombard her, and pretty soon, all of a sudden, we ask Kelly, what have you been doing this week? And all she says, all I'm doing is filling quarter requests. Because there should be a due process there, and we do have a process of how we go through.
I agree 100%, and therefore it should be on an agenda item to be considered, those requests like that, as opposed to hit or miss. I agree, but they came in with a special request.
Dan, you would like to speak, sir?
I'm not sure I understand. Are you suggesting that the board name itself as the custodian of records in every core request
No.
placed on an agenda?
No,
I mean, how do you decide what core
No.
requests are placed on agendas and not?
that's the point that I was trying to make. We don't know yet. We need to understand it in detail, first of all, but because that's our job. So I want to know more. I want to know the FOIA request that comes in. What is the process that we're going through right now?
The board's adopted a process and named the county
Kelly,
clerk as the
that's right.
custodian of records. And I think if
It's,
that's
but
a
before
pretty
there,
significant
but.
change if you want to change
No,
that policy.
but to release it is where you requested, did it have to be released by us?
No,
I thought that's what she
No, no,
just
no.
asked us, she was holding it off,
no.
so I said, I can,
No, she gets core requests. If they're routine, I think she just grants them. If they're
Right.
not, if they require some sort of review by IT or by me, she forwards those to me.
okay,
That happens routinely
Yeah,
on
I
a
knew
regular
that.
basis and it doesn't come before the board. And the
But-
kind of documents that you're talking about are the kind of documents that would be released under a core request without any real question.
Right.
I don't think. I mean, there might be redaction of
maybe.
account numbers or something. I don't know.
The only thing she's not released at this point is the ones that we're requesting a $90 fee be waived. And she's waiting until she receives that
Right,
money
yeah.
to release those. It's ready to go. All she needs is the money.
Well, not now, because the board's already voted to.
All right.
Believe that.
No, they didn't.
No,
they
they did
didn't.
not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry, I agree with what you said, Lucas, that we have a process, we need to follow it, that's not the issue. My whole point was, I'm tired of the hassle that we're going through continually to do this. I think it's important, and I think I respect these people that have taken the time to do this, and that's all that my point was.
It would be easy to give the child who asked for a sucker, just give them a sucker. It's hard to make them wait till the end of the day. Or to follow the process of you need to clean your room, or you need to do these certain tasks that you always have to do in order to get it. I don't want us to start making decisions that change that process back and forth.
I agree.
And then pretty soon we don't even know what the process is because we continue to change that process. If I'm personally going to search for information to do an investigation, if I'm not willing to output any money or any investment, how worthwhile is it? Now, if we want to change that policy and we don't want to charge for that, that's a whole different conversation.
Any additional?
Otherwise, no additional.
Yeah. Okay, any additional items of business?
Not for me, sir.
Okay. None. That will take us to public comment. We have a 3-minute time limit. 1 second. Go ahead, sir.
I would like to propose. My name is Stephen Wilcox. I'd like to propose that you guys vote on the 3-minute limit. I would like to see it on the next agenda.
Thank you. Jim,
Jim McMahon, I would like to say, and Lucas, I hear what you're saying. I think that goes without saying. You don't want to be badgered every time turning around to get a forward, oh, I need some information. Why are we needing this information? And another reason, I'm gonna just say this, is we need help from you guys. We're trying to discover what took place here for the health and wealth and for the county. Well, what do you guys do? It's almost like a stalemate. It's like, no, you guys make it happen. It's like pulling teeth. That's ridiculous. You guys need to be interceding on our behalf. We're just saying, what happened? This looks like this was a carnival of events that took place. And we even said it in minutes previous, before the action or the crime took place. We were jumping up and down saying, hey, it's our money. What are you guys doing? Can you wait a minute? We got ignored for your political gain. Your political gain. And Tom Flowers, you guys at least appeased somebody Because you made it clear to me. You represent other folks other than me. That's good. I hope it was worth it. That's all I'm saying. But back to what we're talking about. The only time we have to get records is when somebody's misbehaving. I spent $400 taking Tommy to the ethics. And I didn't get half the stuff I needed. They balked at it, gave me so much stuff that I didn't need. So I'm not new to this little process. But openness and honesty, if you're hiding something, there's a problem. If you're not just open, you're hiding something. Then you dang sure don't get the sucker. But at the end of the day, this air needs to get clear. It needs to get cleared because it's bubbling. There's things that took place here that are astronomical. The political structure that almost took place if Tom hadn't got booted, and if Mr. Lucas F. hadn't stepped in and eliminated that position. Do you know what would have taken place? And I think you do, Kevin Day. The political structure. Done, thanks.
Thank you. Matt,
Matt Miles, I've run this scenario by a lot of people. And I don't know what happened, but what I do know, if you run it by people, they're left with the impression that this entire process was fundamentally flawed. It did not follow the law. That's the first thing. And the second thing, I mean, we're doing an investigation. We're not investigating anything. We're not investigating anything. We're just trying to figure out what happened here. How this fellow could walk in and get that check as big as he got and walk to the bank with it. That's the primary purpose. And get it cash, get it in the bank. What are the procedures the county has to prevent this thing from ongoing in the future? That's really what we're looking at. And the impression that we have is either some or all of this board knows exactly what happened and doesn't want to tell us, the citizens, or this board doesn't know what happened and doesn't care. That's kind of what it looks like from the outside looking in. Because I would have expected this board to say, well, we're going to get the checks. We'll have the checks here because we want to know. That's all I got to say about it.
thank you. Here,
Well, name the James Gilbert, what I'm seeing here is that. Well, let's put it this way, from what I've read, what I've listened to and what I've seen and what I've heard. I pretty much understand what went on here. And that is that there was a proposal for a different system of administering the county business. And that proposal was opposed by a member of the Board of Commissioners. However, that proposal continued to process its way through the system in spite of the opposition. Now, the information that's been given out is there was a possibility that the position would have been filled by a promotion of an individual into a position that had to be approved. Not the promotion, the position itself had to be approved. That ended up not going through. Then the process of proposing the position and hiring from without happened. One finalist was chosen, that finalist was ratified. All of this was done in a 2-to-1 vote of the commission. And I hate to say it, but that is a majority opinion and that is the way it should go. That included the contract. So once that was done, as soon as this commission rescinded the contract and rescinded the position, they cost the county the money. And it's on them to simply say, okay, we didn't do it right. It cost us this much. Let's move on and take care of business. with respect to the 3 minutes, and you'll find this out in a second, because I'll probably go over, you don't want to hear somebody ramble on about nothing, especially stuff they don't understand, for more than 3 minutes. It becomes entirely grating, you lose interest, and you lose belief. But as far as I'm concerned, between Bill and Kevin and Tom at the time, unfortunately, Lucas doesn't have a lot of experience with what actually went on. They were telling us all along what was going on. And the problem is, most of the people in this room don't believe it. They believe something else. And whether or not, I mean, we have someone in here saying there was a crime committed. That sounds a little bit inflammatory, if not libelous. So I suggest we all just sort of say, okay, water under the bridge, let's look at all this stuff. I heard a suggestion to annotate that audio tape, so legal trouble is not.
We need to wrap it up now, too.
Okay, it's not an issue, that's a good idea.
Thank you. Lynn,
Lenarigo. Okay, I agree with most everything Jim said. Here's the issue. Looks like the check was written and calculated before you voted to rescind. That's the issue. No internal control. Check out a cycle. You wrote a check, you gave a check before you even voted to eliminate the position. Now, if you did that, that's illegal. And Jim, that's criminal. Thank you.
and I will respond to that. And that is not the case, sir. There was nothing done prior to the decision made by the board that day.
The check was dated August the 23rd. You.
Yeah, the same
met
day.
in the afternoon of the 23rd. If that's the case, give us the check.
Any other
Give us the
comment?
transaction. That'll prove it. Put the date timestamp. That will prove it.
And not seeing anything online. Okay. I will adjourn this meeting. Oh, have you spoken yet this time?
I have not.
Okay, you have the floor, sir.
Bill Parker. Len Arrigo has brought up a couple of times the issue of internal controls, especially for out-of-cycle checks. And we discussed, or you discussed, or were asked at a previous meeting, what policies were in place, what process was in place to control the output, the processing of out-of-cycle checks. And I was very confused by the answer because I thought one of you said, we don't have any process, we don't have any protocol for that. And then another answer was, well, if the check is over a certain amount, yes, we have some controls in place. So I thought the answer was confusing and I walked away not knowing whether the county has any protocols in place for out-of-cycle checks, especially large ones. And it would be nice to get a reaction from county officials, especially this board. Do we have protocols and process written down in place to control the production of out-of-cycle checks, especially large ones? And I would appreciate hearing a reaction more than just thank you for the comment, thank you for your comments, there's the door. And those comments that I would like to have are, we have a policy in place, we'll bring it to the next meeting and you can see it. Or we don't have a policy in place, but we're going to put an action plan in place to develop the policy. Because it's absolutely necessary that you have one. And I have to say, despite previous comments, that it appears that this particular check that we're all talking about and trying to find out about really didn't follow proper protocol.
And I will say, Thank you very much.
Kevin, it's Peggy Collins.
Hang on a minute, please. Any other comments from the room here?
Can I respond to that?
You may.
Bill, I'll look into that policy, because I need to know what that policy is. Because if there is an out of cycle check that is a large amount, does it need to go through the commissioner? So I'll look into it and I'll report back on the 18th down in Wetmore on what that is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to react to that one.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I agree. I appreciate what you said, Bill. And I will react this way also. The reason I believe, and I made the statements that I did earlier about getting transparency here and understanding the check, et cetera, is for exactly what's going on now. We have a qualified opinion on an audit right now that we got to fix, got to work on. And what we don't need, we need controls in place to make it even worse the next time, or even not finish this what we've got today on what Sam Donato is working on the audit. Can't afford not to have internal controls, and I would love to be able to get the knowledge as to find out, just like you're looking. We have to look in what do we have for controls. Because my understanding was big checks got to have, they're out of cycle. Somebody's got to approve them. And I think if there's something that you all can bring to the table, we need. And the point is we need it sooner than later, because guess what? The audit we're going to have a meeting on that audit. It's already been accepted as a qualified opinion, and we're going to try to fix it for the next time. So I care about it also. We have to do it.
Thank you. Okay, Peggy.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. I'm sorry that I can't be there right now, but I just want to thank Lucas and Bill for agreeing to look into that policy, because I myself am very confused about what the policy is as to out of cycle checks, and particularly about a check that is of that magnitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, not seeing anything else online. I will adjourn this meeting at 3:02 p.m.